Watch this.
The Department of Environmental Quality says an Idaho sewer district is in deep water. A new lawsuit claims it allowed polluted water to leak into the Payette River. We have a breakdown of what led the DEQ to take action. And a submarine with a Gem State namesake is leaving service after decades of action, just in time for the USS Idaho to make its way into the water.
It's important to bring the movers and the shakers and the people that are interested just together in the room for conversation, to keep conversation happening and keep learning and continuing the discussion that helps move forward some of these big initiatives in our valley.
It is Housing Week in Boise. Carly May with the Urban Land Institute of Idaho says they're hosting events all week long. They're getting together leaders in real estate, government, and beyond to talk about how to get more people into homes or rentals they can actually afford. Right now, almost half of renters in Boise are cost burdened, meaning more than 30% of their income goes to rent. Now, I moderated a housing panel discussion this morning, and the bad news is we did not find a solution to the housing crisis. Sorry. But everyone there did say they know how to find a solution to the housing crisis, and it's bringing everyone together, from bankers to developers to city leaders. Here's James Andrizi with WaFd Bank.
When you see rental rate increases of 300%, over a period of time, 3x, it can be, very, very difficult for people, and that affordability gap continues to widen. So I think that the demand is going to be there. It's just a matter of how do we all come together to figure out a solution, and it's going to be not just the developers, it's going to be everybody kind of working together in terms of lending and private investors, public resources, as well as municipal accommodations that could be made.
So getting everyone together working in the same direction is huge, but how do they get over the big obstacles in building anything, but especially affordable housing? Land costs are up and only increasing. Construction costs are up and only increasing. So how do folks who want to build and fund affordable housing fill the gap between what a bank may be able to lend and investors can provide? Private money, state money, city or county money, and hold on before you're like, I can't afford more in property taxes, even if that money is going to something very helpful, like affordable housing. Don't worry, Andrizi says if just the approval process can be streamlined, that would actually be a huge help to get those developments built.
But I think if you can streamline processes, if you can create some creativity in terms of deferment of fees, maybe forgiveness of impact fees, those types of things that may not be a drain on taxpayers, but also it can help facilitate some of those developments. I think those would be ways that the local community, the local municipalities can encourage that development without it being a burden on taxpayers.
And he says city leaders are already working hard to streamline things as much as possible, especially in Boise. And it's that commitment from the city, other leaders, the community, investors, lenders, and developers that gave a lot of people hope that they can find some solutions to the housing crisis. Cross your fingers. The state of Idaho says recycled wastewater has been seeping into the North Fork of the Payette River for over 12 years. And now the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality is suing the Payette Lakes Recreational Water and Sewer District. The state is seeking an injunction and penalties worth thousands of dollars. It claims the leakage can impact the natural habitat of all the wildlife all around there. John Webb joins us now. John, you read over the court filing, and to be clear, the water is treated, but there is concern of other hazardous pollutants in there.
Yeah, Justin, the DEQ says the recycled water contains various kinds of pollutants, but the one they highlighted multiple times in the lawsuit, phosphorus. When it enters waterways in excess, it can cause algae growth. Of course, that leads to low oxygen dead zones that kills fish. Well, court documents allege that recycled water is leaking through the storage pond synthetic liner. The facility was previously owned by the city of McCall. In May of 2013, the city acknowledged the storage pond was leaking. To put this all in perspective for you, this is where the pond is located. As you can see, it's just a couple hundred feet away from the North Fork of the Payette River. When the sewer district took ownership of the pond in 2017, they reportedly completed a report that determined the pond was still leaking through the liner and discharging into the river. Continued monitoring through 2022 confirmed low-level leakage. In November of 2025, the DEQ alleges the pond had a tear in the liner measuring 25 feet diagonally and 10 feet horizontally. Court docs say the sewer district zip-tied the tear, but recycled water continued to leak, of course. The sewer district intends to replace the liner. Attorneys say that will require draining the pond this summer. Of course, it'll be treated, but it's still expected to release around 2 pounds of phosphorus per day. The DEQ is seeking $10,000 per violation or $5,000 per day of ongoing violations. And Justin, we reached out to the DEQ as well as the sewer district, but they said that they're not commenting at this time.
And they probably won't out of court, but still, John, thank you for the details on that. Appreciate it. Now to the 411. Boise police are asking for your help finding a man who they say robbed a bank. Happened this afternoon near Vista in Overland. Police say he ran off with some cash. We're not sure how much. Look at the picture on your screen right here. No one was hurt in the robbery. Surveillance photos of the suspect show he was wearing a face mask, sunglasses, a white hat with a Rolling Stones logo, and a black or gray hoodie. If you recognize him, call 911. You can now get ready to fill out your ballot for the primary election. If you are a registered voter in Idaho, you can get personalized sample ballots at voteidaho.gov. A reminder, the primary election is on Tuesday, May 19th, so it's about a month away, and your party affiliation determines which ballot you can get. You can visit our website for step-by-step instructions on finding your sample ballot. It is official. Boise State Interim President Jeremiah Shin is headed to Montana. The Montana Board of Regents selected Shin to become the University of Montana's 20th president. He starts July 1st. Shin has served as Boise State's interim president and previously as its vice president for student affairs. And that is a 411 on the 208. The USS Boise, commissioned in 1992 and built to serve more than 3 decades, is being mothballed by the Navy after spending years stuck at the dock. What is mothballing? Well, it's an early retirement, deactivation, and taking something out of use. Last Friday, the U.S. Navy announced plans to inactivate the 34-year-old sub, ending a career that was expected at last actually much longer. Let's bring in Cooper Morgan now. And Cooper, why did this sub never make it back out to sea?
Well, Justin, it was because the cost and the priority of those costs and resources. The Navy says that this isn't at the USS Idaho that we've been talking about for the past couple of years. That is a Virginia-class submarine, a new model of nuclear subs the Navy is rolling out. The USS Boise is a Los Angeles-class submarine, an older model of attack submarine named after the first sub of its type, the USS Los Angeles. These classes were named after cities and towns. The USS Boise was designed to serve between 30 and 40 years, like other Los Angeles-class submarines of that era. In fact, it was one of the younger subs, with 9 subs coming after it until 1996. The USS Boise was scheduled for regular maintenance in 2015 and came into port waiting for a spot at Norfolk Naval Shipyard in Virginia. It was unable to redeploy to sea during that time. Backlogs in the shipyard delayed its critical repairs for years. And in 2017, the boat lost its dive certification, meaning it could no longer safely operate underwater. Navy submarine veteran and member on the USS Boise committee, Mark Kirkland, says it was a matter of time.
There's about 130 people on a submarine. I don't know if they're plus or minus that right now for the shipyard evolution and everything going, but they will probably draw down the crew a little bit. You have to maintain a certain amount of people on board for safeguards, policing the submarine, keeping the reactor safe until the shipyard finally takes over for it. It can take 1 to 3 years to decommission a boat.
That's a long time, and it's just starting now. The USS Boise previously deployed during Operation Iraqi Freedom and was considered one of the newer generation Los Angeles-class submarines, like we said, that was still in service. But Justin, it's kind of perfect timing, right? That the USS Boise leaving, unfortunate and kind of ironic is what Kirkland told me. But now we have USS Idaho coming next week, right?
But it is funny you should say that, Cooper. Transitioning smoothly now. Like Cooper mentioned, USS Idaho going to be officially commissioned next week. You had a premonition or something. A little more than 2 years ago, we sent a crew out to Connecticut for its christening. A christening is a celebration for a new name of a vessel, even though it's not ready for service. Again, now it is ready for service. Also, despite the Gem State's landlocked position, Idaho has a long history and connection to the Navy. 4 naval vessels have carried the name Idaho, going back more than a half a century, actually more than a full century and a half. Brian Holmes explains in the 208 callback.
The Gem State's initial tour in the U.S. Navy began before Idaho even became a state in the Union. The USS Idaho, named for the territory created in 1863, was a wooden steam sloop. Commissioned on April 2, 1866, it set to sea under Captain John Warden, who oversaw a mostly foreign-born crew. However, at first, the Navy didn't want the Idaho. She wasn't fast enough. But when they added the sails, she was able to let loose. In fact, on a passage to Japan in 1868, the Idaho reached speeds of more than 18 knots, making her one of the fastest sailing ships of her day. But on the trip back across the Pacific in 1869, her sails and hull were damaged by a typhoon. The USS Idaho remained in Japan until she was decommissioned in 1873. Another 35 years would pass before Idaho's brand would bridge the broadside of a boat, this time as a Mississippi-class battleship. Now a full-fledged state, this USS Idaho was commissioned on April 1, 1908, with Captain James Meredith Helm, at the helm. She would spend some time in Central America, England, and France before being sold to Greece in 1914. The third USS Idaho, a little less of a charming life. She was a wooden motorboat, assigned to patrol the Philly and Jersey shores. That Idaho would last only a year, from 1917 to 1918. By that time, the world was at war, and Idaho would once again be assigned to a battleship. The New Mexico-class craft was commissioned in 1919 in New Jersey. Originally part of the Pacific Fleet, the fourth USS Idaho actually spent time at Pearl Harbor in 1940. But she was in Iceland on that fateful day in December 1941. The largest battleship on the water at the time, the USS Idaho headed to the Pacific 2 days later. Her service during World War II would earn her 7 battle stars.
The USS Idaho played a very key role in World War II. Was at the Battle of Iwo Jima and provided fire support and was part of the success of the Battle of Iwo Jima.
In April of 1945, she was assigned to a bombardment station off Okinawa, also providing major fire support for that invasion. Then later that year, in September, the crew of the USS Idaho celebrated the surrender of Japan in Tokyo Bay while listening to the band on the fantail. That moment commemorated on the back of that picture. The rockets and searchlights were used for other reasons that night, the night that we received the news that the war had ended. The fourth USS Idaho was decommissioned on July 3rd, 1946.
Unfortunately, there has not been a ship named Idaho since then, which is kind of sad in some way because Idaho has such a rich Navy tradition.
The USS Idaho commissioning celebration starts next Thursday. We're just a few days away with the ceremony scheduled for Saturday. Despite all this recent rainfall and the snow in the mountains right now, well, quite frankly, it's just not good enough. Governor Brad Little has declared a drought for all of Idaho's 44 counties. And it's not just the Gem State dealing with an abysmal snowpack. The snowpack in the Sierra Mountains came back the second lowest on record. But it's not all bleak after an unexpected winter storm.
Just wait till you see this. We're just gonna go skin up in the backcountry and get some freshies.
Sunshine after heavy snowfall over the weekend, creating perfect conditions for locals
Get out there.
itching to hit the slopes after all the winter weather whiplash.
We were out the whole storm. We skinned up in Sugar Bowl and got to the top of Mount Lincoln and caught fresh the whole way down. Everybody else was in their house trying to get warm, and we were out scoring.
This crew of boarders say this may have been the best storm they've seen all season, an unexpected flurry.
It's bittersweet. I think all of us were in summer mode, had our dirt bikes out, we were fishing, having a good time, and now winter is full blown back.
It's been a rough season for Sierra ski resorts with only 2 remaining open. And they're lucky. The Palisades seeing 43 inches of snow in 72 hours. That snow also impacting roadways, causing countless spinouts and big rigs to jackknife.
Yesterday Yesterday, very slick. The highway was closed, but today on the highway it was pavement.
We had a friend of ours drive into a snowbank, couple spin outs.
But this snow was needed after the Sierra snowpack report came back as the second lowest on record.
I feel like when these sparse storms hit, everybody just got like shocked because everyone was coming up to chase it and no one was really used to it by that point this year.
UC Berkeley says while snowpack is still below average, this snow will help a lot. Running off into streams and reservoirs re-moisten the soil and delay vegetation drying out. Some just happy to experience snow for the first time.
I've seen it snow before, but I've never actually touched it. But yeah, it's a cool feeling. It kind of just feels like little ice parts stuck together.
Well, we are experiencing weather whiplash this week in southern Idaho as well. After a dumping of precipitation yesterday, we have a brief break today before things change again overnight tonight, bringing us first alert weather days for the next couple of days. So if you want to get things done outside, now is likely the time to do so with dry weather because it is clear blue skies out there, but it is cold. It is very brisk with light winds. In the 50s for Boise and Twin Falls, Sun Valley not too far behind in the low to mid 50s, but McCall quite a bit cooler in the low to mid 40s right now. Late tonight is when we will see those conditions start to change along with a cold front coming through. So Wednesday and Thursday we'll see some widespread valley rain and mountain snow. We could even see some valley snow flurries by Thursday morning, but brisk winds, tumbling temperatures, a lot of weather elements to take into account that could impact your outdoor activities. It could also make roads a mess, so your commutes to and from work Wednesday and Thursday likely going to be impacted. They could be slippery and dicey, especially in higher elevations where snow is getting into the mix. Thursday will be the coldest day this week, well below average. Now we're watching this cold front start moving south from the coast of the British Columbia. That's what's really going to trigger those showers and drop our temperatures Wednesday and Thursday. It's already creating widespread showers in the most northwest corner of the Pacific Northwest. That should reach southwest Idaho by later this evening. We'll start to see clouds roll in around midnight across southwest Idaho and the Snake River plain, that is. But after midnight is when those showers start coming in, traveling east, and will reach the Magic Valley a little bit later in the morning. But by 5-6 a.m., the showers are very widespread across the Treasure Valley as well as the west central and portions of the central mountains where it will be snow that's falling. Valleys can expect rain tomorrow. It really won't be until Thursday morning when we see those snow levels drop as it is going to be the coldest day of the week. So Thursday morning, we could see some snow showers in the Magic Valley and Treasure Valley included in that. Not expecting a dumping of snow in the valleys, but don't be surprised if we see some flurries because you can see how temperatures fall drastically in the next 48 hours. So we're in the upper 50s today, still slightly below average. Our average this time of year is 62 degrees. So tomorrow will be a few degrees down, but then Thursday we're looking at a high of 47 degrees. So it will be a very brisk day. We are also expecting mornings to be sub-freezing Thursday and Friday. So not good news for early gardeners. We do typically see frosts still through April this time of year. So it's not unheard of, and April is a very dynamic month in general when it comes to the switching of the seasons. So you can see that the roller coaster of weather conditions continues, not only for temperatures, but also with precipitation chances, because by Friday, we are then drying out through the rest of the weekend. Come the beginning of next week, our shower chances come back once again. We're going to go ahead and talk about some traffic, though, since it is just before 5:30. We're looking at traffic flow across the Treasure Valley. You can see I-84 westbound is backed up for several miles. Traffic is only moving at about 30 miles per hour generally. Highway 2026 Chinden Boulevard is probably your best bet if you are heading westbound this evening. Drive times along I-84 westbound from Boise to Meridian, less than 10 minutes, but near 25 minutes from Boise to Nampa, closer to 30 minutes to get all the way to Caldwell.
Your comments today are all about affordable housing and how you don't like the idea of deferring or waiving impact fees. Bob says, hey, these developments, people move in, puts more stress on the emergency services, and the citizens end up paying for that, not the developer. Jim says this, that yeah, these developments happen, they build these, and then again, that just gets passed on to the taxpayer with those increased infrastructure costs. So I understand what you're saying, and that's normally the case, but all these developers are already building all these market rate places. They can just build anything, make a lot more money charging whatever they want. If you want them to build some affordable housing, they're saying you got to meet us some way. Also, final comment coming from Sonia says, Justin, we think you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you, Mom, or I mean, Sonia. This isn't my mom posing as Sonia.